In one of the most brutal engine competitions we've ever run, two legends square off against each other. A Coyote built by fast-forward race engines, an LT built by late model engines. Powered by 76mm HPT turbos, it was one of the closest dyno runs we've ever seen. In the end, it was the Coyote pulling out the win. We're now back for round 2, where we put up or shut up on the ultimate proving ground.
Welcome to Horsepower Wars Season 4, the C10 Shootout presented by Summit Racing Equipment. This season, we are taking two C10s, pitting them against each other in a drag and drive competition. Today, we're at one of the builders, Big 3 Racing in West Salem, Ohio, to take a look at their build, the 1978 C10 that has been dubbed the Big 10. Big 3 has less than 10 days to race day and the pressure is building. This sucker is powered by that 1400 horsepower LME engine from LS vs. Coyote with the HPT turbo included. Now, in the previous episodes, we've laid out the rules, the build plans, and all that fun stuff. Well, now it's time that we start digging into the builds and we see what these teams are gonna do. Big 3's plan, for what I understand, is to take a more simple and understated approach. They're gonna be using that TCI bolt-in front end to keep this truck driving like it's stock. They're going to be using that TIC intercooled 5.3 LT and stuffing it full of ETS E85 to see what it can do. They're going to use the leaf spring suspension but put a modern twist on it to make it work because these guys know a thing or three about leaf spring style suspensions. So it's a different style build. Going to be very exciting to see how they approach it and what happens at the end. On the last episode, you saw us tear down the stock trucks to get them prepped and ready for modifications and new parts. Now that the Big 10 is stripped down, it's time to start unboxing some goodies to help this truck go fast. Well, work continues on the Big 10. The truck has literally been yard sailed, as you'll see here in a second, been torn apart, a lot going on. Since we left on the last time, we were looking at the front suspension and whatnot, so that got a lot of work. And let's talk about it with Bob. We've got all Bob.
Hi there.
Bob, what's up?
So we got most of this kit from Total Cost Involved. We're still waiting on the coilovers from AFCO, so we're going to stop right here for right now. Really nice kit, really straightforward, honestly. We got everything powder coated. Only need to drill a couple holes, and it bolts right in.
We'll let you go hunt for some of the parts, those AFCO shocks, see if they got here, and we'll check out some more stuff on the truck.
Sounds good.
Well, I mentioned that there was a lot of stuff done to the truck earlier about being torn apart. So I'm gonna flip the camera around here and you'll get to have a little look-see of what's going on. And yes, as you can see, the bed is no longer attached. It's got some new suspension stuff. And here to talk about it is a Wild Chuck.
Yes.
What's up, Chuck? What looks like you guys have been some busy little beavers here. What do we got going on?
Yeah, so our biggest thing we were trying to tackle is the rear suspension, get all that kind of dialed in. The easiest way to do that is remove the bed. So that was one of the first things we did, was remove the bed. We wanted to remove some of the cross member bracing, so we put some temporary bright orange bracing that's not staying, but we kind of tacked that in there to make all that stiff and, in the meantime. But we unboxed the strange housing and center section, all that. It came that way. We had them leave all the perches loose on it so that we could actually figure out where we wanted everything, also get pinion angle and all that set. Right now it's just loosely bolted on there until we get the weight back in the truck, get it back on the ground, and we can set pinion angle then. But Calvert sent us everything we needed for the suspension back here. We got their slider brackets, which we heavily modified. They don't come this way. That's simply a U with a slider in it. But Nate went through here, made all this plate, custom one-off stuff, TIG welded everything and then welded it to the frame and put everything exactly where it's going to need to be. This is going to allow that leaf spring to actually arch as it needs to and not have to worry about any kind of binding. It's on roller bearings, keeping it lubricated. This system has gone extremely fast. I mean, sub 1 60-foot times. So no reason why we can't do it with this truck. Not go sub 1 second 60-foot times, but no reason it won't work on what we're doing.
So you don't have to do full on gnarly race car stuff, it's still going to have a lot of that old C10 DNA in it, if you will.
100%. Yeah, to do what we're trying to do here, I don't think that we need to be ridiculous. Not saying that someone else isn't being ridiculous, because, I'm not going to be the judge of that. However, we are trying to keep it simple. We know what it's going to take to go how fast we think we need to go, and I think what we're doing is going to achieve that. So we're going to stiffen up the C-notch that was already in this by grinding everything down, welding everything up. We're also going to replace all these cross members with chromoly, but we're going to integrate a parachute mount and the rear cross member, make some, lightweight brackets and stuff. We also have to change all the cab mounts. We just got those from Summit Racing. So we're going to put solid cab mounts before we, start really welding the cage in. We did get a main hoop fabbed up for it and a harness bar, but we're going to tie all that stuff in. But once we get the motor installed, the transmission, get weight back on the truck, because we don't want any flex in it when we go to weld it. We want this thing on the weight, on the ground.
So there's definitely no one's going to be able to cry a pro mod with this thing, since it's still going to have this interesting C-channel OEM chassis in it, right?
100%. Yeah, there's just, for what we're trying to do, we don't see the need to do what others would do, which would be build a pro mod, almost a tube chassis, or at least, we'll call it a 50% tube chassis. I don't think there's any need to do that. I think it's just a waste. So we're going to keep it simple, and we're going to go fast, and that's all that matters.
I think that covers pretty much everything.
Yes, absolutely.
Looks like this rear end is definitely not the 1978 model that came with it, and you guys kind of knew this was going to be a high horsepower build, so you got to work with Strange directly on this. Like, why did you guys pick what you picked feature-wise for this rear end and kind of go with like a 9-inch versus anything else?
So the 9-inch is notoriously known for being the strongest rear end out there for this application, or really for any kind of street drive stuff or drag racing stuff. But we really wanted something, knowing the truck was going to be heavy, going to be making plenty of horsepower, and we know we needed to get a really good 60-foot in order to compete, or to be competitive. So we chose the Strange Ultra Carrier and everything like that, 40 spline axles, and we did lightweight axles too, because we got to try to shave as much weight as we can. Picked a 350 gear ratio because we needed it to be able to drive it down the road. We figured this would be the best with the height tire we have, everything down the road there. So.
The horsepower for the Big Ten has arrived, and Chuck, myself, and Bob are going to get to lay eyes on it since it left West Tech. So I'm kind of excited because I haven't even seen this motor yet. Definitely one bad piece from LME, and Chuck and Bob and the team haven't seen it yet. So guys, let's see what we got here. The big reveal. Da, 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 da.
I still don't see it.
Now do you see it, Chuck?
I see it now. It got dusty.
Would you look at that?
Yep. Yeah, no, that looks beautiful. I think it'll be
LT,
enough.
right?
Yes, definitely an LT. They didn't mix it up. We don't have a Coyote.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
I know there was some concern about it fitting under that hood by the owner. I don't think that's going to be an issue, is it?
No, I think with this Holley low ram, with that TIC Performance intercooler, I think that'll fit up underneath there, no problem.
That's wild with that TIC intercooler on there that it still is that low.
Yeah, I think it's just, if anything, it might be just marginally a couple inches taller than just a high ram alone. So to be able to fit all this underneath the hood will be very, very nice. Make it easier to see out.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at this thing, it honestly, like, it does not look super exotic at all.
No, not at all. It looks like a old truck motor.
Yeah, like it legit just looks like a truck motor with a turbo kit. And I'm assuming this is going to be just on there for ornamental. You guys are going to make your own turbo kit?
Yeah, yep. So all this will get taken off, probably remake a lot of stuff. Obviously, we'll reuse this part because it's already there as far as the dual seal.
For the charge pipe?
For the charge pipe. But yeah, we're making our own headers and the whole hot side, turbo mount. I mean, everything else will be new and fit in the truck and work really well.
Yeah, it's a lot of interest. My only question is, why did they send a 1 horsepower utility pump?
Yeah.
Maybe that's just going to be the secret ingredient you got to stick on it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Maybe we'll use that for a meth pump.
That's you never know.
You just never know what you might need.
The LT had just arrived at Big 3, but we've got some bad news. We get to see it, but it needs to be shipped back to LME immediately. It was collectively decided that the original turbos were going to be upgraded with a larger turbine from HPT. Because of this change, it was essential that the engines were refreshed with new pistons. We'll be covering this in more detail in a later episode.
We're sending back the engine to LME. They are changing out the pistons, taking a little bit of compression out of it, I guess to make it a little more difficult for us to win. I don't know, we'll see. But she's boxed up and ready to go. So we're gonna load her up on the truck and set it on back. And then hopefully we'll have it back quickly. We're going to use a mock-up engine, I believe, so we can get further ahead on this thing and get it done in time.
Despite the missing engine, the Big 10 build charged on with race day looming just over the horizon. Is this your idea how to beat the Coyote with a junkyard LT?
Well, since they stole our other motor and it's on its way or in Texas, I decided to go in the back of the barn and grab this junkyard unit and show them what we can do with a junkyard motor, I guess. Now, really, this is just for us to get in there and start mocking up. Since we don't have our other engine, we need to keep working. Only a few weeks left before we need to race, so we need to get it done as fast as possible, and it's the best thing we can come up with. Throw another motor in there, let's start making headers and make everything fit, get the trans in there, get a cross member made, and everything else.
All right, Chuck, it's time to play the favorite game. What's in the box?
Well, I'm gonna assume that it's our transmission.
Hopefully, right?
Yes, and torque converter.
Hopefully JC didn't send us a box full of brake rotors, right?
Look, we got another box. That's what we got.
Look how well they packaged this thing. Oh, look at that. All kinds of great stuff. We got some ATI swag, transmission, and the whole deal.
Oh yeah, everything's in there.
1,400 horsepower is a whole lot of horsepowers when you've got a rather portly vehicle. Turbo 400s seem to be very popular for high horsepower vehicles, specifically for drag and drive vehicles. Like why? What makes the 400 a good choice?
So multiple reasons. One is they're I don't want to say bulletproof, but almost bulletproof. And it's one of few transmissions that you can buy every single component of it aftermarket. So obviously it's going to be a lot stronger, a lot more durable, but you can cram a lot more into the same case whenever you have the ability to do everything aftermarket. And another thing that's really nice with the Turbo 400 is you're splitting that gear. So when you have a Power Glide, if that's your other option, you're splitting whatever gear ratio you have in half. So as far as accelerating down the track or even just driving around on the road, it's a lot nicer to have multiple gears to choose from other than just high and low.
And then the other thing that's nice to mention too is over on this side, we can get a shot of it, is the SFI aftermarket case, SFI bell housing, so you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. A lot like the flex plate that we had. Again, it's, we know it's tough.
Correct. We don't have to worry about this exploding in the tunnel next to us.
Again, being legless Joe.
Yes.
Now let's move around here a little bit more so we can get some shots of this beautiful piece of billet behind here with this torque converter. And let's first talk about torque converter selection for something like this. How do you guys typically approach it?
So what we do is it's a back and forth conversation with the manufacturer, in this case ATI, and we talk about how much the truck's going to weigh, what gear ratio we have, what tire height, how much power it's going to make, and what our expectations are as far as quarter mile time goes or 60-foot times, and they formulate inside that converter all this kind of voodoo witchcraft to make it work. And it's beyond my pay grade, but I know they know what they're doing, so we just have faith in them.
And I'm holding some of the voodoo witchcraft here. The brains of the operation, the stator. It looks like they sent us two different stators where essentially if you guys go to run this and you're like, this is too tight, we need to put a different stator in it to loosen it up. You just literally, it's what, 12 bolts and...
Right, you unbolt the cover off of it. It came with a couple extra O-rings just in case, and then you swap that in there. So we have something we have what we think will work, then we have something tighter and something looser, just in case. And mainly because of the time frame. Not something you typically have to do, but it's nice to have that ability instead of shipping it back.
And again, especially with how the approach you guys are doing with its build, it's nice to have that kind of like lead weight either way. If you might have missed it on your converter selection, you could slap this in there. Doesn't have to get recut, and you can make this change in a decent amount of time.
Right, 100%. You don't have to worry about shipping or anything like that.
with their new ATI transmission mounted to their stand-in motor. Big 3 was ready to start on the next phase of the build. Still got to make this beast stop, and she's a heavy girl. So looks like you have decided to go with some more strange hardware and brakes. Why did you guys decide, hey, this is what we need?
So what's really nice about these is they're still vented rotor. They're lightweight, but they're still good on the street. We're still going to be able to get stopping power from it on the street and panic stops, but also on the racetrack. And again, we're trying to shave as much weight as we can without actually lightening the vehicle. So anytime we get a chance to save some weight, and I really feel that Strange was the best option in order to shave some weight here.
Weight and strength and stopping power. It's, you know, the old cheap, fast, reliable pick 2. With brakes, you can't do that. Like, it has to be able to do.
You have to do both
and be able to stop like that. And probably also the bolt-on ability of this, where you guys didn't have to do anything crazy, I'm assuming, with making it fit on that TCI deal. This is just lock and load, bolted up.
Yep, it bolts right onto the spindles, and just like a normal brake kit. I mean, nothing special, nothing custom. It works really well.
Following a mishap that resulted in Team Biggin having Big 3's Dominator ECU, the team at Big 3 decided to have a little fun.
Eric over at Biggin wanted to somehow end up with our Dominator. I still don't know how it is, nor do I have it yet. And it's only 2 weeks before we absolutely have to have this thing driven, test driven, everything ready to go. Therefore, we were left with just a few days to get it to start. I decided, let's just send him a package too. I posted on social media that I was going to send him a package as well. So I decided, why not send him a glitter bomb? We're going to do red, white, and blue because America. Maybe we'll add 2 times as much glitter. And then message inside. Let's do Happy Pro Mod building. And then on the outside, we're going to do the Horsepower Wars open on camera. That way, hopefully, he reads this and it doesn't. Maybe I'm hoping that he just thinks that it's coming from the crew at Horsepower Wars, and they're telling him, hey, you have to open this on camera. We're going to get it to him very quickly, and we're going to get this thing mailed out to him. So hopefully we see what happens on the other side.
Let's talk fluids, because again, in a high-level build, you want to use the best possible products, and I think there's a lot of people that might get confused when it comes to this stuff. So I know we've got a whole mess of AMSOIL stuff that we were putting into this. You know, let's talk about rear end fluid, rear end stuff, because I think some people don't understand why you need to use certain fluids. So, you know, let's talk about that.
When it comes to fluid, rear end fluid specifically, we want to use something that's formulated for drag racing, for street driving, all that.
What the manufacturer recommends.
Correct. So AMSOIL, one nice thing I have to say, just looking at it, is if anybody has ever put rear end fluid in, you have that long, stiff bottle, and it's almost impossible. They actually have a pouch.
Yes.
Again, nobody else is doing this. They came out with this. It's absolutely phenomenal. It makes it so much easier to get it in. You can actually get the very last drop in versus leaving a quarter of a quart left in it. But it is formulated to do exactly what we need it to do.
After Chuck gave us a rundown on the main components of the Big 10, him and the team kept the progress steady. This included installing shocks from AFCO Racing, new Race Star wheels, and a plethora of other parts to make this truck a monster. Thanks to a large care package from Vibrant Performance and Chuck's Junkyard Engine, Big 3 was able to start mocking up the main components of the headers and turbo system. More and more progress was being made on the build, including the fabrication of the competition engineering roll bar. Modifications were made to the truck bed to fit the radium fuel cell and other components of the fueling system. Unfortunately for the Big 3 team, this progress was about to stall.
Unfortunately, I don't have good news. I have no news.
Okay.
update on the shipping situation. So obviously this thing got delayed on the way down to LME, which was the shipping issue with the company. They've sent it back. They turned it around relatively quick, I think, but it's having an issue on the way back. So we've been talking about this for a couple days. You might see it tomorrow. They project that Friday is the worst case scenario, but they're really cautious on guaranteeing it for some reason.
Right. Of course, because why wouldn't they be? I mean, saying I was already supposed to have it a couple days ago. I mean, if this was 2 months ago, it could be a week delayed and it wouldn't matter. But the fact that we're only got a couple days left definitely hinders a lot on our end. That's for sure.
Yeah, not great. I mean,
yeah, and really for us, it means that probably not a lot of testing, if any. So that's really going to kind of put us behind. But there's a lot of stuff we couldn't finalize because we don't have the actual engine, and everything changes. The cylinder heads are different. So the mounts and the block are the same, but even if the heads are machined differently or the block's machined differently, the exhaust doesn't line up correctly. The headers, with the crossover pipe and fuel lines. I mean, just a lot of stuff. We have a lot of stuff mocked up, but nothing is final yet because of waiting on this. So that's definitely not an ideal situation, as you could imagine.
Somebody made the point, it's not just like it's just a test. Like, you're going to be ready to drive this thing 100 miles right out of the gate, basically.
Correct. And we wanted to at least let it idle for an hour, would be great. And I have a feeling we're going to get to the point to where it's just enough to get it started and be ready to drive. Like, it's not going to have a lot of, we were hoping to have it done 2 weeks before, we were supposed to drive it and race it. And the fact that, we're going to have moments is somewhat stressful.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I'm going to keep calling them. I'll check to make sure that I know when it arrives and if it makes this transfer, and then I'll have to update you, and we're just going to have to hope for a miracle, I think.
At this point, the stress is high for the team over at Big 3. The race is just over a week away, and they are yet to have a running truck.
So, we've done things, not enough things, but the reason we haven't done enough things is we don't have an engine. And it's a big hindrance. We can't do a lot with a junkyard engine. We don't want to finalize anything because that other one has aftermarket heads and everything's going to change just a little bit. And if you final weld everything and plumb everything and then everything changes, you now have to change everything you've just done. And we're supposed to have it back 3 days ago. Then I was told yesterday. Then I was told today. And now I'm just told hopefully Friday, which will leave us with like 7 days. Because technically we only have 9 days because it's the end of this day. So 7 days to build almost a whole truck. Because there's a lot of things we can't finalize until we have the right engine. To say that that's a little stressful is an understatement.
The Big 10 build is stuck and things aren't looking good. Chuck and his team are hoping for a miracle, or there might be just one Coyote Pro mod racing down the track at Dragway 42. Next, we head to Mooresville, North Carolina to check in on the build of the Coyote 10, and I hope things are going smoother for Biggin on that side of the country.